All right. Well, we're back, and we wanted to talk about which foil is the best in 2026. And we feel like for our conditions in our environment in Southern California, for our riding abilities and styles, we've narrowed our brands for this season down to two of our favorites.
Ronix and Liquid Force.
Hey,
No,
Axis and Armstrong.
Yeah.
Well, and the truth is, our shop is constantly revolving what brands that we carry. Right now, our two favorites, spoiler alert, are Cabrinha and AFS. But we've got new stuff coming out from KT. We've got other brands that are, Code's likely going to launch new stuff this summer. We've got, it's always a revolving type of, cycle of one in, one out. But in this season, we're loving the Cabrinha, we're loving the AFS. We wanted to highlight the differences between the two because the number one question we get right now is, which one should I be riding? Well, which one's the best?
Number one question we get is, what's the best foil? That's when someone calls, when someone texts, when someone sends an email, what's the best foil? And it's an impossible question to answer because the best foil changes from person to person, from location, from discipline, from whatever you're looking to do. So we're looking to advise you what we think is the best for your, average plus foil surfer in their 40s, right? Who gets to surf on the free time.
I'm just lucky to have the plus in my average rating.
We primarily foil surf, like prone foil surf, and then do the stand-up paddle downwind, but we do parawing a little bit, and we know how to wing.
Both of those are questionable statements.
We know how to wing.
We can wing. We've wung.
We've wung. We wing, wang, wung before, and so that's where we wake foil, like we can wake foil, and we can do all of the different types, but primarily we prone foil surf and we downwind stand-up paddle surf.
Right.
And I think we've both come to the agreement that our favorite two foils for most customers, especially for us.
Specifically us, our favorite foils.
But for our customers, we're referring the Cabrinha Prestige and the AFS Enduro. And it's perfect because they're very similar. Mm-hmm. The 900 and the 905 Prestige are both 11 aspect ratio wings. They're relatively flat. They both have a little dihedral. They both have a little flip tip.
Their leading edges look very similar.
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast, right? For the Enduro, for the AFS stuff. But overall, very similar designs and similar feels. I think the best way that we compare the two, we both kind of feel, is the Cabrinha, the Prestige is probably the easiest foil I've ever ridden. It's what I teach most of my lessons on now. It's just very intuitive. It's very smooth. It's got great low end. The Enduro is not as easy. It's not an impossible thing to ride. It's not super technical, but it is more technical, but it does offer more on the high end of performance.
Yeah.
So where you get a lot of extra low end, a lot of easy stability, easier pitch control with the Prestige. With the Enduro, you get more performance on the top end speed, on the roll and pitch through turns, so you can turn tighter, I think. And then the glide, they're similar in terms of glide. The Prestige is a little bit slower, so it's like per pump, you're maybe going to go further with the Enduro, but you're going to have to pump a little faster with the Enduro. So very similar feels overall, with more of the easy cruise and more high performance ride.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is I would agree that the 905 is easier than the Enduro 900. But what's kind of crazy to me is that the AFS is still extremely forgiving and easy to ride.
Yeah.
So it's the 905 tends to do more than I would give it credit for on the low end, where the Enduro is actually sized. If you're used to riding a 900 foil, the Enduro is going to feel pretty good at 900 square centimeters. Where the Cabrinha 905 kind of like surprises you. You're like, oh, I thought I would have needed a much bigger foil in these conditions or something. But
Right.
the 905 just like rises to the occasion. The Enduro 900 will, like, I would use my Enduro 900 for my everyday downwind foil, but I would think about sizing up if it was a little light.
So I think like the range, the way I describe it to people is the range on the Prestige is bigger, which thank God, because they don't have all of the sizes. It goes from 760 to 905 to 1150.
Right.
So those are pretty big jumps. I tend to tell most brands they should be making every 100 to 150 max.
Right.
So, 760 to 905 and then 905 to 1150. It's a little on the big gap size, but the Enduro range is every 100.
But in contrast, there are Enduros that I've just never ridden because I've ridden the one above and below it, and I just end up not riding that one.
Yeah, right. I mean, and like I guess it's every 100 for the standard sizing, and then the bigger boys, the 1300 and 1600, have those big gaps.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense. You don't typically need really big foils to be every 100 because they're just the range on those gets bigger, like the Prestige. But yeah, no, I mean the range on the Enduro I don't think is as wide in terms of like the low end of the wing to the top end speed. But it is it's a little tighter window, and it's pushed up a little higher than the Prestige,
which speaks to the high end performance of the Enduro, right? Where like if you're a high end rider, you're going to be really tuned into exactly what size foil you need, exactly what the conditions are doing. Right. You're going to pick that very specific. You're maybe going to have 3 or 4 wings in your foil bag, rather than just wanting to have 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But I will say, and this is the number one thing I want to say about both these foils, is that while I was on AFS, the Enduros first, and reluctant to try Cabrinha because I didn't want to give up the speed and the fun that I was having on there. There is like by far one of.
And back up even further, it took me a year to get you on the Enduros in the first place.
Because it took you so long to get me on the Evolutions.
Yeah, it's like he fights me. It's like I don't know what I'm talking about when I tell him to ride stuff, and I tell him he's gonna love it, and he's like, no. It took me a year to get you on the Evolutions from uni. It took me a year to then get you off those onto the Enduros, which once you got in the Enduros, you're like, oh, I get it, right?
Yeah.
And then now that you've been on the Enduros for almost the last year, it took me quite a while, but I finally did get you on the Prestiges, and you're like, oh, wow, I get it.
Yeah. So the claim to fame with both of these foils is that at different times, I have accidentally ended up with a true one-wing quiver, which means I went out and prone foiled in the morning and chose the AFS Enduro 900. And then that day on a downwinder, later on in the afternoon, I decided that my normal foil I'm going to be riding for downwind is the Enduro 900. And then same thing happened with the Cabrinha, the Cabrinha is proning in the morning. I'm riding the 905. Right. And then my everyday downwind foil is the 905.
Right.
And he's telling me I need to go down to the 760 now for downwinding.
Absolutely.
But it'll take him about a year to get me to do that.
Next year, tune in. We'll have an update on the 760.
When we're like in another brand.
When I'm telling you to ride something else, and he's just now finding out how great the 760 is.
But I think that we promised to not say things like one wing quiver, right, or quiver killer or game changer. Yeah. But I have accidentally ended up riding for weeks on end one specific front wing and tail setup. It's just one foil lives in my car. I ride that, and if something changed and I could only have that for the foreseeable future, I wouldn't miss out on many. The range on these is so big. You can go when it's light wind. You can go when it's macking and you need speed. So it's actually, they're pretty versatile foils. And I think for me, that's what puts them at my top 2 foils right now.
Same. Yeah. The versatility, the all around use for both is what makes them my 1 and 2, my number 1 and 1.5. They're both right there. And for me, honestly, it changes week to week what my favorite is. It's like people ask me, what do you like better, prone, surf, or downwinding? And my answer is always the one that I haven't done the most recently is the one that I want to do the most, right?
Yeah.
But
when there's no wind, we like downwind.
I love downwind, right? But for these two wings, the way I would recommend them to customers is you could absolutely have your one wing quiver. Like I tell my students, my customers, either one of these, I could take one wing, travel the world for a year, like
be just fine.
If I was back in my 20s and didn't have a kid and wasn't, oh man, different decisions, right? Yeah. But if I was doing that, I could absolutely go travel the world with either one of these, and I would be stoked. For the Cabrinha, I would size down. I would go with the 905. That would be the one foil I take around the whole world.
Wait, this is the 905.
Right. For me,
you would size down from
the 1150.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm 200 pounds. Josh is much.
You'd take which Enduro would you take?
So yeah, for Cabrinha, I would take the 905 Prestige.
Yeah, around the world.
Around the world. If I was going with the Enduro, I'd take the 1100.
Okay, so this is probably a good time to mention that when I was riding, when the Enduro became my one wing quiver, I think it was the 1000.
It was.
And then the 905 is what I'm riding. Right. So the 1000 probably gave me back a little bit of that low end.
Right.
That I was that I was looking for, and it still has the I did a gnarly Maliko run on the 1000.
Yeah,
like it was just huge, and I was keeping up with groundswell, and it was just really impressive. The top end of the Enduro 1000, but I'm still able to do light wind runs. 905 has that bottom end, so yeah, a little bit of size difference.
And so the sizing up from a 905 to an 1100 is quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
For you, it's 905 or 1000, right? That's closer. For me, it's the 1000 works for me. But if I'm going to do a light wind downwind run, or if I'm going to go do small prone, and I want to make sure, if it's like long period swell, and I have to like pump a lot more than I want, where the 905 can carry me, the 1000 Enduro would probably be a little small, and having that 1100 helps. But the 1100 Enduro still surfs so well that I'm not
insanely well.
Yeah, and it's because it's that higher performance range on the top end. You sacrifice a little bit of the low end. So, I'm going to go from a 905 to an 1100. I'm going to buy back that low end with the bigger wing, and I'm going to keep that top end performance of the 905 on the 1100 because it goes higher on the range. So
I agree.
That's my comparison there at, again, 200 pounds.
We've always said that in 2026, the numerical size of the foil doesn't matter as much.
Right.
And that's where a 905 is going to ride like an 1100 Enduro. But don't think that the 1150 and Prestige rides like the 1100 Enduro.
Right.
It definitely does not. The 1150 Prestige is like...
It's more like a 1300 Enduro.
Well, check this out. I flatwater paddle up the code 1540. That's like if I'm teaching a flatwater lesson, I just want to look like I'm really good at flatwater paddling. So I take the code 1540. That's always been my thing. But you brought out the Prestige 1150.
Yeah.
And it was every bit as easy to flatwater as that 1540.
And I've been telling you for the last 6 months to use the 1150.
Now you got to start early with me.
Yeah.
But that 1150 feels like a much larger foil. So if you're looking for a foil from Cabrinha that handles, the large foil size range.
Yeah.
That 1150 it punches way above its weight class.
Yeah. Just to kind of bring the whole thing back together with both of these front wings, right? The Prestige series, the Enduro series. Another reason why these are our favorite foils, but part of the favorite brands, is the whole package. Both brands, Cabrinha and AFS, have incredibly stiff, incredibly efficient masts.
I was just going to go get those. You keep talking about masts.
They both have standard, affordable masts that are good, and then they're both have the top end, high performance versions as well.
And this is why we love these setups.
They're both killer. This is Cabrinha's Apex. It's 14 mil. It's relatively small cord, vertical leading edge. The UHM AFS. This is an 85. That's why it looks taller.
It's an 84. It's just what I had available right here. But similar cord lengths.
Yeah, similar cord lengths. The AFS is, again, higher performance, I think, between the two. It is thinner. It does have shorter cord, and I do think it is a little bit stiffer than the Apex.
Especially in this midsection right here. It is a little bit stiffer.
Yeah. So, if you're looking at whole package, both of these brands have everything that you want to build your perfect foil setup. You know, down to the fuses. Cabrinha currently has the monoblock tails that are great. It's a very stiff, very efficient setup, and then soon there will be modular tail and fuses, which we've been writing a bit lately, and we're very excited about that because you can go shorter on the fuse. And then with AFS, they have their fuse link, where it has multiple different tail settings, so you can make your fuse shorter. And then with it now, thank God they finally made good tails. Thank you, AFS.
Yeah.
With the U-Surf and U-Carve, and then specifically the Downwind, the U-Glide, they have the total package. Last year, had you asked me, I would have been selling you a unifoil tail with your AFS setup. Actually, I did that a lot.
Yeah.
Because the AFS tails last year were not very good. I didn't like them. But they currently, in my opinion, have some of the best tail options out there. Those U-Surfs, the U-Carves, and then the U-Glide. It's a really good. So just with the whole package, you're going to get our favorite front wings, but it's part of our favorite total package with these masts, the fuses, the tails that they all offer. So,
and I know what a lot of you are thinking is, yeah, easy for you guys to say. You're saying all this because you got to sell them, but the truth is, we filmed this video to show you why we picked these foil brands to sell.
Why we sell them.
Yeah, and why we're continuing to sell these when, let's face it, they're the harder brands to sell because no one knows about them.
The first question we get when we say go get an AFS is, what's that? What's an AFS?
I would make so much more money if we just sold Axis and Armstrong.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we want to sell the things that we believe in the most. And so we wanted to film this video to show you that. So yes, we want to sell you these foils. Yes, we get it. That's our business. But the reason we pick these foils to sell you is because we actually think they're the best. And they're the best people to do business with. Really cool people that are building
brands.
them.
Great. I mean, there's a lot of great brands. We work with a lot of good people out there.
We do.
Cabrinha and AFS, they've treated us very well. They stand behind their product. The very few instances of warranty cases with both brands, they were instantly either sent us to give to the customer the new one, or just mailed directly to the customer to get them their new stuff. There's never been any balking at, oh, well, how did they break it?
No.
What happened?
They can tell.
It's pretty obvious when it's a manufacturer defect and when it's a customer, rock riding their foil straight into the reef.
AFS completely changed the way their mast inserts are after a couple warranties.
And Cabrinha has a similar setup as to the new AFS. So it's built to last. It's all good stuff. But I mean,
great.
Stuff happens, stuff breaks. All of these things are made in factories in mass molds,
Humans.
and there's going to be issues. And when there is issues, both of these brands will stand behind it and help you out. So our two favorite, the best foil in the world right now, I would say, again, Enduro or the Prestige, and the best brands that you can set yourself up with for like a long-term relationship with would be the AFS and Cabrinha product line. They're going to take care of you. They're going to keep making cool stuff. I've seen behind the curtain of what's coming for the rest of 26 and then into next year. And I'm very excited for both of the offerings from these brands. Not to make a separate video out of this. The new KT stuff is coming.
I was going to say, check back with us next week to see KT.
Josh just spent a week with KT out in Maui and got to ride all the new stuff before it was on the website. And he's like, dude, we got to empty our bank accounts to buy all this KT stuff because it's so good.
The KT stuff is good, but we're not there. It's not out yet.
And it's very specific.
It's
very rider specific.
We will get it in the shop. We will ride it. We will talk to you about it. We will put it through its paces. I think people that are looking for what KT is putting out are going to be really pleasantly surprised.
KT faithful, that those 7 people that have stuck with KT stuff, didn't jump to F4.
I think the KT riders are going to be stoked. I think that a lot of people are going to be happy to move. I think there are going to be Orca riders that jump over to KT.
100%.
But the Orca is not an everyday foil.
Right.
And these are our favorite prone surf, downwind, our everyday, all around foil.
For your average 40-year-old idiot who gets to surf after work.
If I didn't own the shop, I would be allowed to buy one 4.5 foils, you know, like two front wings and like one foil kit with 2 front wings. That would be my setup.
Yeah.
And that would be the 905 and the 1150 does that. Or the 900 and the 1100, maybe 900 and 1300
yeah.
Enduro does that. And that's what this video is about. That's why they're our number one for us. And yeah, tune in next week when the industry throws us another curveball and we come back to you with more product. Thanks, guys.